And we're live.
Hello and welcome to another live demonstration. Today I want to talk to you about charcoal powder. Now I'm sure we're all familiar with charcoal sticks, either willow or vine, but charcoal powder, so what is it? It's a really fine charcoal powder. I mean, I'm talking really fine, so I've put some into a bowl because it tends to go everywhere, so possibly by the end of this demonstration I will have it everywhere. So what can I do with it? These are a great little tool. These are artist chamois, so it's a chamois leather which helps you to be able to apply the charcoal powder, and you can build up your tones and build up areas that way. So try it with lots of different tools. I've got a colour shaper, sorry. You can see how you can make marks and create patterns. This is one of my favourite. Put it on with a brush. I'm using a fan brush because I love that nice soft effect you can get. I will be using one of these because I'll do a demonstration in a little while. So you can put it on, you can use a stick, you can use anything. Put it on and push it into the paper. Now I'm actually using a watercolour paper for this because I was trying lots of different papers and I was trying to find one that had some texture because I actually like the feel and the look of texture behind the charcoal. So, but some people prefer a smooth paper and that really lovely smooth paper. But I was looking for a texture paper and this worked for me. So you can see with the stump, you can push it into the paper. Now it's very dusty and I'm going to have to keep blowing. Let me try putting a little bit more down over here. Apparently I've got to keep it very neat and even. Gary's told me I can't just put it randomly over the page, I have to put it in neat areas. So I will try my best. Okay, so charcoal, you can see how it's gone on and you can build up your layers. You can use it alongside charcoal to get even darker tones, or you can lift off, erase back using a hard eraser or a putty eraser, kneadable putty eraser. These are really useful tools because you can use them in a lump like that and lift off bigger areas, or I've been making little smaller parts and you can just then see how you can control and lift off a little bit more controlled. So I like the one in a case because it keeps it clean, and I will tend to leave it and it will get sticky and stuck to something. So for me, the case is great. Okay, I could add water to it. I haven't brought a brush. And you can just try lots of things with it. It can be used with mixed media. It can be used on many medias. I like charcoal because it gives that really nice, dark, rich colour. But the powder gives you lots of different tones. So what I'm going to do a little demonstration. And yes, I've thought about a subject which is black and white. It just makes it a little easier for me just to show you the dark tones and the light tones and the mid tones that you get. So painting a panda. And like I say, I will get this everywhere. But what I'm going to do, and I didn't do that on my first demonstration showing you swatches, is use my fingers. I could put gloves on and I will use the tools, but to be honest, I sometimes just like to feel what I'm drawing. It just makes it, for me, it works. And I can push the charcoal and manipulate the charcoal around the page. So I'm just starting with the eye because that will give me the size and shape and help me plot out where I'm going from here. So, like I say, I will get it everywhere because I'm using my fingers, and I'll probably get it all over my face, but we'll wait for that. So just thinking the ear is going to come out up here. So at the moment I'm just plotting. I can start to build up and add texture a little later. I mean, what I can do is also use the stubs, and I can now start to think about, I've got the nose here, and you can see here I have a little bit more control now. Shape of the nose, mouth. What I'm not going to do is draw a constant outline. I'm just going to think about the shapes. So the nose has a bit of a kink here, like that. Sorry about the squeaking, apparently Gary can hear it through his headphones, so he's making faces at me. Okay, and again in with my fingers, just to be able to feel and push it into the paper. I can move things if I feel I've not quite got the shape, but that's working for me. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the dark areas. Because it's a white panda, I don't need to be overly concerned. So the face is slightly wrong here. I've just got to work out what it is. But I know I can correct it. I'm not really worried too much about it. Okay, so I'm going to just work. If I really thought about it, I'd probably work this way down, so then I don't have to lean on. But I'm standing, which is another way I like to work as well, because I feel you can move your whole body when you're creating a drawing.
You stood up back there?
Yeah, I'm stood on a box, if you want to know the truth, because they've made the desk really high.
I think they made you really sure.
Okay, so just putting on powder, and like I say, putting it on with my fingers. I think it's really fun just to, so people say don't blame your tools. Well, your tools here are your hands, so I can't really blame those. And I'm going to keep it quite loose. I think charcoal really lends itself to many styles. You can keep it really detailed, really build up and push into the paper, tone back, create greys, create blacks, and keep the areas you need white. But I think it also opens itself and lends itself up to much more creative work, you know, movement, and sometimes it's just a few simple marks which will, I'm just going to see if I can drop a bit powder onto the page and start to build this up a little bit more quickly. So what I'll do is I'll probably just put on mid-tones, and then we'll have a break, then I'll come back and we can look at putting on detail, and you'll see actually how little you will need. It looks quite dark at the moment, but I'm not worried about that, because what I'm going to be doing is pushing it around, pushing it into the paper. Okay, that's nice. With the powder, you haven't got a huge amount of control. It will tend to contaminate other areas. But I think that's part. Just changing that stronger line to a much softer line. So, and definitely needs some darker here. I'm going to have to blow this, Gary, so it's going to go everywhere. And you can see there, it's actually gone over here, but I love some of these marks it's made. Right, let's go back in and start to pick up. I'm not picking it up well on my fingers. Here, just think about, obviously in a panda it's quite easy to see the darker areas, the black areas and the light areas, because his eyes, or the shading around his eyes at the moment, is obviously the darker areas in a black and white animal. Right, I'm going to move on to creating a little bit more detail. So, nose, I'm still looking and changing the shape from my original markings, and I'll put on mouth. I'm not going to put the leaf on, I will leave that out. And now I need to just change the shape under the chin, because actually it's quite narrow under there, quite a short, and then I can push this around, and you can see there how just reshaping a little bit has altered the shape of that chin by just slightly, only a little bit, and has made a difference to actually making it a much more realistic animal. So I'm constantly reviewing my original image because I want a fairly good representation. If I wasn't bothered about that, I wouldn't be looking at my reference picture. But if you are trying to create a good representation of a subject, you need to keep looking at your subject. Doesn't matter what style you're using, it's important you keep picking up the important features. So the hair is, the white hair goes on top of the black, so I'm trying to create that by just breaking up this line here. Right, so I'm going to use my fingers again, I think. Yes, he's white, but he has shadow, he has shape and structure. So now to create a little bit more form, I'm just going to have to look at the actual shape round his eyes, and you can see round here that this bit is in shadow. So now I'm trying to bring out the form. This is creating more mid-tones. Now this is quite dark. That went on a little bit dark. I'm not worried about that because I can sort that out. What I'm looking for now is just creating a form, making sure I have the shadows where I need them. So yes, still looks a little bit messy at the moment. Still plenty of areas to work on, but don't need to rush. It's not a problem. I can continually rework areas. This is the great thing about charcoal. I can also take it back. Right, I've got some nice black ear, but I need to think about the shadow. Comes down the face there, in this area. Okay. So, is that back? Maybe I need to move it up there a little bit more. I think, re-looking at it, the back of the neck's much thicker than I've made it. So, yes, that's a round ear, but I need to change the shape a little bit. And is it big enough? Let me see compared to the eye. Maybe it needs to be a little bit, maybe I need to create the eye a little bit more. Okay, so I think I'll just work on here and then we'll take a short break. And I can now start, because what I will do, I'll find myself overworking. Just creating some texture. Well, I've got it on my fingers, so I'm cleaning my fingers a little bit. Okay, so I've started to work on shape. I probably need to work a little bit on the nose. That's very flat at the moment. So we'll take a short break, give me a chance to look at the work without working on it. So join us again after the ad break and I can start to put detail on. We can start to finish.
Let us bring out the artist in you. If you'd like to learn how to paint or improve your painting, the SAA is here to inform, encourage and inspire you every step of the way. When you become an SAA member, you get so many benefits, including the free bi-monthly newsletter Paint, packed with inspiring step-by-step projects, fascinating articles and detailed information to get your creative juices flowing. Discounts on over 13,000 art products featured on the SAA website and in the Home Shop catalogue, with free order line and free delivery in the UK mainland. A devoted SAA team on hand to answer your questions and give you the confidence and motivation you need to start painting and develop at a pace that suits you. Plus, a free welcome pack filled with gifts and practical help to get you started, as well as the opportunity to make friends with like-minded people.
Best thing of being a MAP member is the inspiration from the magazines, to be able to purchase things at a very reasonable price.
Yeah, you get the reduction on all the materials, the advice you get.
I can shop from home.
It's a community.
It seemed like a very friendly sort of organisation.
If somebody's thinking of joining, don't spend too long thinking. Just join. They'll love it.
And we're back.
Hello and welcome back. So in the time you were looking at the advert, I've had a chance to look and I can see this neat is too flat. I just need to do something over here. So it is always good to actually walk away from your work and come back, rather than constantly keep working and moving things and keep going, oh, that's not right. If you walk away, even put a mount round it, come back to it, you can say, you can really see where you need to work on areas. So I can see here, this nose is flat, so it's not working for me. Just need to add a little bit more tone. I know it's quite difficult when you're doing a white animal, because you don't, it's white and you don't want to take away the whiteness, but you will see mid-tones. So for me, that's really improved. I've re-looked at the eye. I think I need to move that up a little bit. That's better. And this bit here needs to be thought about. So I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try and take it back. And you can see here, using the eraser, I can now start to detail. And I'm working on the lights. I'm not working on the darkest areas yet. I tend to do that at the end. Just see there, just bring out some indication of the fur and the direction. I think that just takes it up a level. I'm not fully indicating, I'm not drawing every single hair, but I'm indicating the direction, just showing. That's much better. I'm happier now. I'm going to try is to use my fan brush. See if I can just dust that off. And also see if I can just move a little bit of this. So you can see it's still quite powdery. I'm just trying to add a little bit more texture. For me, it's quite flat. So by adding the brush marks, it just gives me a little bit more movement. Okay. So this is still only working on the mid-tones. You'll see when I put some final marks on, how that suddenly takes it up. Move that to another level. Now I don't want to actually overwork, I just know there's something not working here. Might be the shape of the nose, so I'll fix it. I can move it. Again, just changing tools. What I don't want to do is create really strong lines. I want it all to move and work together. Okay, so I'm going to keep overworking. I can feel myself working onto it. So what I'm going to do now is go into my dark areas, and I'm just going to, you can see how using just neat charcoal, how that can just bring that little bit darker tone that you've been missing or not being able to achieve through the powder. How you can bring. I changed hands because I want to create loose marks, and I couldn't lean over, to be honest. Even if you're not confident using two hands, it is a good skill to try and change hands, because what it does, the reason I've changed hands is because I want a different mark. I want to not quite as controlled. I want loose marks. I want a little less structure. So I've changed hands because I'm predominantly right-handed. But by changing hands, I'm having to be I'm less controlled. I'm not making the marks exactly as I would do, or structures as I would do with the one hand. So if you are struggling and you are trying to find a way and think, oh, it's not working, oh, it's, you know, I want to work loosely, I want to work much looser, change hands. Just simply try drawing with the other hand. And I do this in workshops, and I find people at first are terrified, and they sit there going, I can't draw with this hand, let alone draw with this hand. And actually some of the drawings that are done with the opposite hand are lovely. They've got movement in their line and different tones. It's really nice. So it is something to try, to think about. Right, so this is where I can see it's a little wrong here. I want to just bring out a little bit more of a white hair, and then maybe under here. So if I don't think it's working, I'll just try another tool. So how can I bring this bit back? I think his nose is off centre. Let me recorrect that. Now, because he's black, I'm just going to work on the eye and give him some vision. What I have done is I've actually looked and thought about the eyes, thought about how they look. I've looked at the structure. From everything else you can kind of get away with, but I think it's important that you have some details which are really close to what you're looking at. So for me, it's going to be the eye, because I want to just give him some character. And you'll see it each time I touch it with my fingers, it really takes the charcoal back. So I'm going to have to stop over fiddling with it, because I want some. It has some nice structure. Okay. I don't know if you can see the eye there. I'm going to just bring out, using one of these lovely Tombow razors, which give you a nice fine line. Just want to bring out a little bit more character. Okay. It needs to be darker around here. Use the edge. Bring up darkness here. Bring up some more dark into the ear, and then I need to stand back. This is a bit too neat for me, so soften with a brush. And final things, I'm just going to bring out a little bit of detailing. You can see how lovely. I love this one with this sharp edge and the flat area as well. You can have big strokes, but on the edge it creates such lovely. So a big mix between very loose but also quite detailed. I think it just gives you a different level for your work. And like I say, I don't think I've done too badly. I think I've actually been quite controlled and not as messy as I normally am, which is quite nice. Like I say, I don't think this is working as well as I would like. I do need to think about it and step back, but for this, I think it works. Now bringing out just a little bit more fur-like qualities. Give it a brush. Kneadable eraser. Because I think this is a little bit too structured. And you can see here how I can lift out in the background a little bit more. Take it back. See here, it's working really nicely. What that's doing is making my darks darker and my lights lighter by really making sure I have some lighter areas. Last thing, oh, nearly, told you it would be messy. I just want to just give a little bit more shading on the head. I think that works okay. Possibly needs a bit more work, the face isn't quite right, but you can see how you can use your fingers to put it on and how the charcoal works and how it works with all the different tools. So I hope you enjoyed that and join me again next week for another live demonstration.